In a courtroom filled with tension, a woman stands alone, her heart pounding in her chest. Jessica Johnson, 7 months pregnant, has no idea that today's court appearance will turn into one of the most humiliating moments of her life. All she's guilty of is a minor traffic violation. But the judge, he's about to turn the courtroom into a battlefield. Judge Harrison, speaking sternly, asked Jessica, "If you can't obey the law, you can drop and give me 20 push-ups. Right here, right now." What the judge didn't know, however, was that Jessica's husband, David Johnson, a powerful federal prosecutor, was about to change everything. His presence in the courtroom would shake the very foundation of the justice system. Stay with us, because what happens next is a shocking tale of power, justice, and the battle against racism. Will Jessica stand up to this cruelty, or will the weight of systemic bias break her? And will David's powerful position be enough to right this wrong? Jessica Johnson was a hard-working nurse, balancing long shifts at the hospital with preparing for the arrival of her first child. She loved her job, loved taking care of others, but pregnancy had made everything harder. Fatigue weighed on her, and stress was becoming more and more difficult to manage. On this particular evening, she was driving home after working a double shift. Her stomach, swollen with the growing life inside her, ached as she shifted in the car seat, trying to find a comfortable position. She wasn't used to being tired like this. Usually, she could push through. But tonight, her body was telling her otherwise. As she approached a busy intersection, her eyes were momentarily distracted, and just like that, the car passed through a stop sign. A soft squeak of the tires on the pavement was the only sound she heard before the flashing red and blue lights of a police siren filled the quiet night air. The officer approached her car with an aggressive stance. Jessica, trying to stay calm, rolled down her window. The officer, speaking gruffly, demanded, "License and registration now." Despite his harsh tone, Jessica, maintaining her calm demeanor, explained that it was just a simple mistake. Jessica nervously but clearly apologized to the officer, explaining that she hadn't seen the stop sign, having had a long day at work, and was just trying to get home with no intention of causing any harm. The officer looked at her, his eyes narrowing as if he had already made up his mind about her. The officer sternly told Jessica that she had run a stop sign, which he considered reckless driving, and informed her that he would have to issue a ticket. The interaction quickly escalated from routine to uncomfortable. Jessica's explanation fell on deaf ears as the officer, his voice sharp, continued to reprimand her. "Officer," aggressively, "you people think you can do whatever you want on the road. Maybe you're just too distracted to follow the rules. Get out of the car." Though the situation was escalating unnecessarily, Jessica knew she had to stay calm. But there was something in the officer's demeanor, something in the way he looked at her, that made her feel small, invisible, and humiliated. As he handed her the ticket, he made one final chilling comment. "Officer," smirking, "you'll have to appear in court. I'll make sure they know how reckless you were." When Jessica arrived at the courthouse, she was greeted with the intimidating atmosphere of the courtroom. The marble floors, the high ceilings, the people in formal clothes. Everything felt foreign to her, like she didn't belong here. She was just a pregnant woman trying to get home, yet now she was here, being judged. Her lawyer, Andrew, had tried to reassure her, but when they walked into the courtroom, they immediately felt the weight of what they were up against. The judge was a stern, older man, Judge Harrison. He had a reputation in the district for being unyielding and quick to dismiss the arguments of anyone he considered beneath him. As Jessica and Andrew stood before the judge, Jessica could feel the coldness in the air. Judge Harrison, eyes narrowing, his voice cold. "Mrs. Johnson, do you believe being pregnant excuses you from following the law?" Jessica swallowed hard, fighting the urge to let her emotions take over. She had to stay strong. Jessica, softly but firm. "No, Your Honor. I just didn't see the stop sign. I was tired from a long day at work." The judge's eyes narrowed even further, and a smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. He leaned forward, his voice dripping with condescension. Judge Harrison, mocking. "Excuses, excuses. Perhaps you need a lesson in accountability. Drop and give me 20 push-ups." Jessica, stammering, almost in tears. "Your Honor, I'm 7 months pregnant. I can't." The judge sneered, his gaze sharpening like a predator eyeing its prey. Judge Harrison, coldly. "Are you refusing a direct order, Mrs. Johnson? Perhaps a night in jail will help you reconsider your attitude." Lawyer, urgently. "David, it's Jessica. She's in court and the judge is humiliating her. You need to get here now." David's blood runs cold. Without hesitation, he grabs his briefcase and heads out the door, his mind already racing. The judge was in the middle of another degrading remark when David entered the room. All eyes turned to him as he stood tall, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the courtroom. David, calmly, but with authority. "Your Honor, I am David Johnson, federal prosecutor for this district. I demand to know why my wife is being subjected to such degrading treatment." Judge Harrison, flustered. "Mr. Johnson, I'm sure you understand that this is a courtroom, not a place for personal interference." David, firmly, voice rising. "I'm perfectly aware of that, Your Honor, but I'm also aware that no one should be subjected to humiliation simply because of their race or gender, and certainly not my pregnant wife." Judge Harrison, flustered, trying to regain control. "Mr. Johnson, this is a court of law. I will not tolerate this kind of disruption." David's voice grew more intense, each word carrying the weight of his career and his love for his wife. David, calm but firm. "I'm not here to disrupt, Your Honor. I'm here to make sure that justice is served. This," gesturing toward Jessica, "is not a courtroom for humiliation. It's a place where laws are upheld and where people, especially my wife, are treated with dignity and respect. I'm federal prosecutor David Johnson, and I demand to know why this treatment is being allowed." David Johnson, a man known for taking down the most dangerous criminals in the country, had just made it clear that he wouldn't allow his wife to be treated like this. The courtroom, once filled with the judge's cold power, now shifted in favor of justice. But would it be enough to expose the truth? The judge, trying to maintain control, cleared his throat, though his voice wavered. Judge Harrison, defensively. "This behavior is inappropriate. I will have you removed from this courtroom if you don't show respect." David stepped closer, his voice steady, but filled with authority. David, calmly, but unwavering. "Respect? Let's talk about respect, Your Honor. How do you expect my wife to respect you when you're treating her like this? Do you think this is acceptable behavior in front of a room full of witnesses?" Judge Harrison, flustered, his hands trembling. "I am the judge here, and I will not be questioned. If you don't leave, I will have you arrested." David, shaking his head, confident. "I don't need to leave, Your Honor. You do. What you've just done is abuse of power, and I'm prepared to take this as high as necessary." David, speaking into the phone. "I'm filing a formal complaint. This judge crossed the line today, and he's going to pay for it. I want every detail on his record, and I'll bring this to the media if necessary." As the news of Jessica's mistreatment spreads, the media begins to take notice. Video footage of the courtroom incident goes viral, sparking outrage across social media. What followed was nothing short of a revolution in the fight for justice. What was supposed to be a simple case of a pregnant woman facing a minor traffic violation became the battleground for something much bigger, something that would shake the justice system to its core. Public outrage poured in as people from all walks of life voiced their support for Jessica and condemned the judge's actions. Advocacy groups, civil rights organizations, and lawmakers began calling for an immediate investigation into Judge Harrison's conduct. Jessica Johnson was no longer just a victim of one man's abuse of power. She became a symbol for all those who have been wronged by the system. And it wasn't just her fight anymore. It was a fight for everyone who had been marginalized, silenced, or ignored. David, addressing the press, "This is not just about one judge or one case. This is about ensuring that no one, especially people of color, especially women, are treated unfairly or cruelly by those who are meant to serve and protect. The fight is not over. We will keep pushing for justice no matter how high we have to climb." David's complaint triggered an immediate investigation into Judge Harrison's past cases. It wasn't long before the public learned the shocking truth. Judge Harrison had a history of making racially motivated decisions, from unfairly sentencing black defendants to unjustly dismissing their cases. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern of discrimination that had gone unnoticed for far too long. The investigation uncovered a disturbing truth. Judge Harrison had been making biased rulings for years. His actions weren't just isolated moments of misconduct. They were a reflection of a deeper systemic issue that needed to be addressed. The fight for justice had just begun. Jessica, to the court, her voice unwavering, "This isn't just about what happened to me. It's about every person who's been treated like they don't matter. Every person who's been humiliated, judged, or dismissed simply because of the color of their skin or their gender. No one should ever have to experience this." When the verdict came in, it was clear that justice would be served. Judge Harrison was removed from the bench, his career shattered. He faced disciplinary actions, and his name would be forever linked to his racist and biased actions. For Jessica and David Johnson, the battle wasn't just about one moment in court. It was about making sure that no one else would ever face the same injustice. It was a victory for all those who believed in the power of standing up for what's right. This story is a reminder to all of us that no matter how powerful or untouchable someone might seem, accountability always finds a way. Jessica's courage, David's unwavering support, and the collective voice of those who stood by them changed everything. Justice will always prevail in the end. And no matter the obstacles, we must all continue to fight for equality. If you believe in justice and equality, share this video and spread the word. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for watching. We believe in sharing stories that matter and spreading awareness about justice and equality. If you want to stay informed, inspired, and part of a community that stands up for what's right, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Join us as we continue to bring you powerful stories that challenge the status quo. Together, we can make a difference, and your support helps us reach more people.